inspired to push through. Because there's a spark in you. Breakthrough or bust. Hello, hello, and welcome to Breakthrough or Bust. And I am so excited to have one of my very favorite people in the whole wide world here with me, Elyse Archer. Hello, Elyse.
Hello, Kalua. Thank you so much. This is so fun. This is like a reunion. I feel like we're gonna have the best time. I can't wait.
I'm so glad. And, before we even get going, I want to say that, Elyse is just one of my favorite people because she is so heart-centered. And what's also really cool about Elyse is she's very successful. She puts her mind to something and she manifests it and makes it happen. And I just love to use her as the example to the people who say it's not possible to be heart-centered and successful. She's my I told you so. So
thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
yes. And thank
It's
you for
very
being
possible.
an inspiration.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think anybody else who achieves, anything, like it's because you've experienced the contrast. It's because you struggled with something first. And so I had plenty of those times and stories in my life. And no doubt, I think as long as we're living, we continue to have challenges that we've got to rise up to, but I just
New
love
level, new
now.
devil.
Yeah. So, and it can be like that. Yeah. And I think it's just, taking that knowledge, but we're always being given knowledge. We're always being given new perspectives. So taking that and being able to share it in a situation like this, like with you and your listeners, or so with my clients is really my joy and my passion now. So it's so great to be here, and I'm an open book. So whatever best serves your listeners, I'm happy to go there.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so tell us about a struggle that you've been through.
Wow. Yeah, I mean,
Pick one.
there've been plenty. I think the overriding kind of challenge. I've actually, so I personally have decided, like, I don't use the word struggle anymore in my life. It's a conscious choice, but I decided I'm not available to struggle. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't challenges, but the way I think about struggles, and this is just my take on it, but it's the energy that you bring to the challenge. So it's one of my girlfriends, Allison Chavez, she taught me this, and I think it's so great. Like, the challenge is not optional, but the struggle is. So you will have the challenge in life, but the suffering and the struggling, that part, you can decide if you're going to stay in that or if you're not. Like, we can always choose our state, and we can choose how we feel in the situation. So that's been a big lesson for me. But so I think one of my life opportunities has been learning how to trust myself. And there's been a lot of different situations of that, from having an eating disorder for many years, which really came down to like not trusting my intuition growing up about things going on in our household. And that led to me suppressing and stuffing a lot down. And that manifested into a 17-year eating disorder. And then, miscarriage. Later on, I learned that I really didn't trust my body to be able to do the thing that I felt like in that moment. I felt in that moment like it failed me, right? Like bringing our kid in the world. But what I found is that the more that I trust myself, the more that I learn to trust my intuition, my instincts, my body too specifically, the easier everything gets. And I think that's something that isn't taught that much in our society, and especially in the business world. It's like really not discussed a lot. And I'm so passionate about that now because your body. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, you might get me on my soapbox a little bit.
Oh yeah.
This is one of the things that I talk about a lot. We've been programmed to disconnect from ourselves, from our bodies. If there's a pain, take an aspirin, ignore it, tough it out. You're fine. Don't be a big old baby, or, just anytime there's, this little warning or the little things, we're told to ignore it, to disconnect from it. Even as far as moving your body, like, don't move your hips or you're a trollop, or there's all these societal messages that tell us to stifle.
Yeah.
And then we don't trust ourselves. How could we possibly trust ourselves? Because we're so disconnected we're not in a place to be able to trust ourselves. When you think about your relationships, do you trust someone you hardly know, or do you trust that person that you're one-on-one with and intimate and you share with, and that's who you trust. And so it's that same thing. You've really got to have that intimate relationship with yourself. I've heard this one astrologer, he refers to it as your mirage.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And I think that's been my biggest lesson. And, one of the universal laws that I talk with my clients about sometimes is like law of polarity, which is the blessing has to be equal to the trauma. And so the thing that I take from that is, for anyone who's listening, who's had any sort of trauma, which most people have, I think that's part of why we come to this earth, we experience contrast. But then when you have that trauma, there's a great blessing waiting on the other side of it. But for me personally, a lot of that trauma was around my body, learning to disconnect from it, sexual trauma, all of that. And so it's been a really beautiful journey. Really, I'd say like the past 5 years of learning how powerful our bodies are, that your body's always speaking to you. It's always telling you what to do. And I think the more we can learn to listen and trust and release the need to control everything, because when we try to control things around us, that means that there's something inside that feels out of control. And then everything comes to you because you feel whole and complete and you're vibrating at a higher frequency. So like we can go a lot of different ways with this, wherever you want to go.
And it's so funny because, isn't it? And what's funny is I'm just getting off of a phone call with somebody where we were really talking about that letting go. And, in theory, it is the easiest thing in the world. Let go, release. Okay, sure. And in practice, it's like,
I tell you what, I don't know about you, Kalua, but I know, so I attract a lot of women who want to control everything because that was so much of my story.
Yeah.
And when I learned to just release that need, like in my business, just for one example, when I released that need to control everything in my business, within 6 weeks of making that decision, my annual income became my monthly income. Everything shifted really fast. Like money started flowing, clients started flowing. But I even know, so now I'm very aware of it. Like, where am I still trying to control? And so for me now, I'm noticing more in my personal relationship, like, oh, I'm still trying to control certain elements of that. And so now that I've got that awareness, like yesterday, Marco Polo'd my coach, because we've got a session after this interview with you. And I was like, hey, I can tell there's some resistance here to releasing control. And I don't even know what it is, but we got to do some breath work. Like, I need to release this. So, but it's just I think it's the awareness. Yeah. And then once you know, you can keep kind of working through those different layers, because there's a lot of layers.
Oh man,
right?
And it's always when you're at your most angst. It's when like there's $2 left in the bank account, or and that's when you have to release. It's like, no freaking way am I gonna release right now. Yeah. But that's when you've got to do it. And I mean, I just remember, I spent everything to get out of a situation I was in, so here I am, every time the rent was due every month, I was like, oh God, just scraping it together. And that was when I needed to let go.
Yes.
And so there I was, tapping on my face every morning. I was doing the emotion clearing. I was, doing my intuitive movement, like everything. And what was crazy is a year later, I'm sitting there comfortably. I'm not worrying about the bills. It's like, there's more where that came from. There's plenty in the bank account. There's just in 1 year. In 1 year, I was able to, by letting go.
Yes.
And just that remembering, it's faith. Yes. It's faith in whatever you believe in. And just that remembering there's always a safety net. Think about like all the times you've fallen. Have you crashed all the way down, or did you get caught before you went all the way down?
Yeah.
And usually you got caught.
Yes. Yes.
And so just having that faith that it's always going to be there.
That's so good. That's so good. I think the biggest thing is learning where your real security is, which is, I used to make it in money or in other people. And then knowing that actually, no, it's like whatever your spiritual connection is, so it's your belief in God, universe, source, and that open channel between it and you. That's it. That is security.
Yeah.
That is security. And the funny thing is I'll just say this real quick and then I'll stop. But it's like, the more you just feel that security there, all of the external stuff comes because you're more of a match for it, but you don't
Yes.
need it. It comes when you don't need it.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, when you go out to the club when you're, taken, and then everybody hits on you.
I need to go to the club because it's been a minute, but I need to see.
Does that work?
I know. It's the next level test, but yeah, it's the wildest
What
thing.
an odd analogy, like me in a club. When is the last time that's happened? How
I
funny was
love
that?
it.
But
Intuitive movement in the club, right?
which I have done, but it keeps
it's
people
all
away.
intuitive in the club.
Oh. But
oh my gosh.
But it's so funny because that one of the things you said, reminded me that, so many times we deem our own value. We attach our value to something, whether it be the income we bring in or the relationship with our family or the position at work, or there's some sort of something that we tend to really attach our value to. And then when that is not going the way we think it should be going, we really get into that place of angst and control. And
yeah. Mm-hmm. And knowing, it's so empowering when you know this, that your outer world is always a reflection of your inner state. Right. And so it's that knowledge that, oh, I can actually create whatever I want in my outer world by my inner state. Now, that doesn't mean you get to control other people, though, or other situations. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just line everybody up and say, you do this and you do that, and you do this for me? No, but what
all
it
of
does,
the control freaks out there are like, oh, that sounds delightful.
Right? I know.
We're all signing up.
Yeah. But what it does mean is when you learn that everything you want comes to you when you're feeling happy, grateful, contented, loving, joyful, then that means that there may be shifting in your external. So some relationships may just fall away. Some may shift, some may change. You may feel like you need to move somewhere. All those things happen to become a mirror and a match for your inner state. Yes. So it's not that you just control people like puppets, but it's no, like when you relax and release and you stay in that beautiful state, you feel very guided about what you need to do to do your part in helping your outer world mirror that inner world. Yeah. I've never really talked about it like that before, but so I hope that's making sense. But I think
it totally is. And it's reminding me, because as you say that, sometimes that transition hurts. It's ugly, it's painful, and it's a good thing because you're transitioning into this better version of you. But sometimes you're losing people. And, let's be real, if somebody is a lower vibration, they're not wanting to come along for the ride with you, they don't tend to leave in a positive way. Like, right. Oh, look at you shining like a star. Let me help you get up there. No, they're going to, put you down or make you feel like it was you. And I've seen that in my own life. I've seen that with other people too, where sometimes you leave people behind and it's painful or it can feel like an abandonment or a rejection or, and you have to grieve.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then I think learning that everyone has their own path. So I think we're spiritual beings here having this human experience to learn more about what it is to feel love, joy. And so they're having their own human experience and to let them have that and not feel responsible for it, which that has been a challenge for me in the past. So, and I think that's normal, right? Like we want people around us to feel good. We want them to be happy, but we're not in charge of that part of their journey. Yeah. So yeah, the transition can be a little, yes. but it's just like anything else. Like there must be a falling away so that the right things can fall together for you. Yeah. To match your new inner state.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just, having that faith and knowing that this is all happening for you. Yes. It's happening for you to bring you to where you're supposed to be. And, I think everybody ultimately has a choice. I don't care and I'm just going to live my life and just be here at status quo. Or, I kind of want to live with this higher purpose. I kind of feel compelled and I have this passion and I want to keep going. So that's the choice. And,
Yes.
no judgment to either choice, because truly the one, it's pretty tempting to just like, leave me alone.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, because that was a lot of my life because I didn't understand how things worked. And I
Yeah.
didn't understand that I actually could control things. Not coming from that place of like scarcity, lack, I need to control, but no, like
Yeah.
realizing more that you can be the director in your own movie
Yeah.
and that you actually like you literally can. It's just
Yeah.
it's learning how to harness your thoughts and your emotions, which are your energetic signature. But I think people aren't more intentional about it because they don't actually think it'll work,
Yeah. Well, and it's
which is the
almost
wrong
like going from
information.
control to empowerment.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
I like that way of putting it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think so part of that is just listening and like learning the right information, like your podcast, right? And
Hmm.
there's certain resources that I had to almost like rebrainwash myself when I decided to really go for some things in my life because
Yeah.
we're brainwashed that money doesn't grow on trees and you can't have what you want and it's greedy to want too much and little girls should be seen and not heard and blah blah
Yeah.
blah, and those
Yep.
things will hold you back
Yeah.
unless you decide to create a new belief for
That's it.
yourself.
Yeah.
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 So it's what you pay attention to is critical to get
And
the right knowledge.
you can absolutely undo that stuff. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to, keep you down forever. You just,
Mm-hmm.
what is it? It's a belief, which is just a thought you repeat. So change
Yeah.
the thought,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
it.
The biggest thing that was a big aha for me was when I learned that from ages of like 0 to 7, you're basically a giant walking subconscious. Like you're basically just
I
under
know.
hypnosis.
I
Right.
know.
And
I know. When I learned that, I was like, man, I'm so screwed. I was just kidding.
it explains well, but it's right. Like I do a lot of inner child work now with my clients because
Yeah.
I now recognize that we are, if that stuff is not healed, it's like a bunch of little kids running around trying to run businesses and trying
Yeah.
to, have relationships and marriages and stuff. And it's
And
you
this
carry these
is,
things with
yeah,
you.
this is why we see sometimes the behavior we see. And I mean, again, it's so funny just how everything comes around full circle. But I was just
Yeah.
having a conversation about this, and I had not done a lot of inner child work, and I started to do it. And oh my goodness, it was like, I cried actually, because
Mhm.
I was trying to find my inner child. I couldn't even find her. She was like balled up in,
Wow.
like, facing the wall in the dark, and I had to pull her out. And it was like, oh, you poor thing. And
Mm.
so, man, there is really a lot of power to acknowledging that. And I'll be real, I actually got physically ill after
Mm.
I did that
Yes.
work. Like, I was very nauseous, and that night I was like physically ill,
Hmm.
and it took a few days to physically recover from
Yeah.
that work. So, you know, it is all connected.
Yeah, it really is. I had a similar experience, but then you realize like, oh, so that stuff is coming out of your body to be healed, right? Which is what
Yes.
you teach your clients and your listeners. And you realize like, oh my gosh, I was holding on to all that
Yeah.
for so long.
Yeah.
And it's, if you feel like anytime you feel a negative emotion, usually what it means is it's something from inner child who's like
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
control stuff, not feeling safe
Yeah.
in the circumstances.
Yeah.
The other thing that's been helpful, and this, redirect me if this is not where you want to go on this show at all.
This is kind of a
But
free for all.
okay,
We let
I'll make it a free
intuition
for all.
rule the show.
So this may be a little out there for some people, but one of the things I've really come to believe over the years is that we choose our parents.
Mhm.
Because when I did my inner child work, there were things that showed up that were like pretty painful, as I think, and I think for everyone, like our parents all did the best they could with what
Of
they
course.
had. And then like me as a mom, I'm doing that now. I know I'm not going to like, and that's one of the thoughts that haunts me the most is that, oh my gosh, what am I going to do that's going to be like wounding to our son? Because I'm so
That's because
conscious
he's
of
still
trying.
little. Once he
I
gets
know.
mouthy, then you'll be like, talk about it in therapy.
Yeah. Maybe it's because he's still little. I don't know. But so I'm so conscious of it now because I see now the effects in my clients' lives and in my own life. But what I really do believe, there's this awesome book. I don't know if you've read it, The Little Soul in the Sun.
No,
And
I'll have to
it's
check that out.
beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Bring it down right
It's a
now.
children's book. Yeah. Little Soul in the Sun. But it helps understand that for anyone who has you've been in a situation where there's been wounding, or you feel like someone's wronged you or harmed you. It's like they are actually an angel who's here to help you experience contrast. And how do we know joy if we haven't experienced sadness? How do we know love if we haven't experienced loss?
Yep.
So
yin and yang.
That's it. Yeah. So I think our
yeah.
parents help us in certain ways experience some contrast.
Yeah.
So that we can then go and learn what we actually need to learn in this lifetime.
And you know, again, going from that place of personal responsibility. So this happened. I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to, you know, empower myself and learn from it. And I love that. Yes. And I totally believe that as well. One of the things I say all the time is, this is happening for me, not to me, you know, and I might not understand why, you know, that's okay. Eventually I will, but in the moment I might not understand, but I know it's happening for me. So I'm just going to roll with it.
Yeah. Because the only reason we suffer is the meaning we assign to things.
Yes.
That's it. That's the only reason we suffer. You know, I was working with a client, actually right before this call, and her dad left when she was little, and she had made that mean that she wasn't worth sticking around for.
Of course.
And you know, she's still in that healing process. So this may take a little while for her, but what my belief is that there's the only way a man can do that is that he doesn't feel like he is good enough to stick around. Like the family is better without him, which is and so it's that shift in me. It's the exact same situation, different shift in meaning that helps you move on from it, because we get to assign our own meaning to things.
When you think about it too, that just that 0 to 7 were like these balls of clay where we assign meaning to all this stuff, right? But yet at that age, we're all ego at the same time.
True.
So that all the meanings that we sign are like, oh, what did I do? You know, I've done something wrong, or there was something wrong with me, or it was, you know. And so we tend to assign these meanings that may not have been in our best interest just because of the developmental stage we were in.
That's a really
the process.
Good point. That's a really good point. Yeah. Giant walking subconscious that's nothing but an ego. That's a combo. Like, of course we're meant to come here to learn contract. I know, right? That's a combo.
So clearly that was a great design, so that as we got older, we would work all of this out, I guess.
Yeah, I know, right? And like, it's a lot of working out. It's a lot. But aren't you glad that you know to work it out and how to work it out? Because I think about so many people who never realize that you can and don't even know that there's any other alternative other than to live life with suppression and stress and anxiety and all those lower level emotions.
Feeling like you're not enough, or, you know, just, I tell you, and I say it all the time, you know, I am so thankful for the hardest time, you know, the horrible relationship, or, you know, all of those, because they pushed me to heal even deeper, to learn even more, to go even further. And it's like, I don't know, I just sort of keep feeling like I'm stepping more and more into this place of just like, you know. And I mean, yes, there's hard times, and there's still, you know, I won't say struggles, challenges. There's still and perhaps that's the difference. Now they're challenges and not struggles.
Because it's different energy you bring to it, and you bring greater awareness of what's actually happening in that moment. You now know, oh, this is happening for me. Even if you have to remind yourself 100 times, then you can assign a different meaning, and then you can move on.
You know, it's really cool. It's like any other skill you learn. When you're first learning it, it's really tough. But then once you come back and you go through it, because again, right, the new level, new devil syndrome, right? You might have it pop up again, but now you've been through it once. You can see it faster, right? You have more awareness. And now you know what to do. You've got the skills. Right. So let me just go back to my little toolbox and get to work on what I need to do to get back to feeling, you know, empowered.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's faster, and it's kind of, so I don't know. Are you a big Bob Proctor person? Do you ever watch Bob Proctor?
I don't know.
He was in The Secret. I'm obsessed.
Oh, okay. Like, yes. I love The Secret though.
Yeah. Jason and I decided he's like my 87-year-old hall pass. So If I ever have a hall pass, it's Bob Proctor. But
Wow.
but I love this. Like he talks about, he talks all about frequency, and the Einstein quote, everything is energy, match the frequency of the thing you want, and it must be your reality. There can be no other way, which I
Yeah.
love. But so he talks about like, can you go down? Like once you hit a new frequency, a new level, can you go down? And he's like, sure, of course. Right. And that all depends on the thoughts you're thinking that you allow yourself to think. But you may go from $1 million frequency to a $950,000 frequency, and then back up to
Yeah.
1,500,000. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you keep going from there. So it's,
And you just
I
feel
always,
it that much more. You're, what is
yeah.
this? What
Oh,
is
okay, 950.
happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel it and you're aware, so you can course correct faster. Because I
Yes.
think most people don't know how important it is, like how you feel. I didn't know that for so many years. I thought just push through it. It doesn't matter how you feel, just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whew, when you learn how to tap into your emotions, which are just telling you what frequency you're on and how to
Yeah.
use those to create your life, it's powerful stuff.
It is. And,
It's so
one of the
powerful.
things that I really noticed too, there is a little bit of the, let me see how to word this. Like,
Yeah.
we know all this stuff about the vibration,
Yeah.
in a place of high vibration, because that's not always where we are. We're like, everything's okay, everything's fine, I'm great, it's good. And that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we're covering over, and we're just not, being truthful to, we're not, authentic with our voice even.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And so, and I apologize, my internet went out for a minute while you were saying
Oh,
that. So
okay.
so you probably had a really profound, a profound thing to say, but it was like, not covering up when you're not feeling good. Is that kind of the essence?
Yeah, essentially
Yeah.
that. Yeah, oh, I want to be in a place of high vibration, so I'm like, I'm great, everything's fine,
Yeah.
wonderful, and it's not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like there's a healing in honoring when it's not, and being
Yes.
authentic with your voice, and being like, yeah, I'm tired today.
Yeah, like it is what it is. It's that, and that's an interesting line to balance too, right?
Yeah,
Because and that's something that I think about a lot, because I know that whatever follows the words "I am" is a direct command to your subconscious to make more of that. So I'm
exactly.
mindful of saying I am whatever, but then
Yeah,
you also, to your point,
yet it's
it's
temporary.
it's temporary. Exactly, exactly. And being disingenuous about it is kind of like just putting a band-aid on it. So one of the
Yeah,
biggest things that I love this from Abraham Hicks, where they talk about like when you're feeling good, get more specific, like think more about what you want, move into it more. When you're feeling bad, like get more general, step away. So
yeah,
like go take a walk, just honor where you are, but stop trying to like push through it, just let it be. And then
yeah.
I heard this from Rhonda Byrne on Jay Shetty's podcast recently, which I really love. She talked about feelings when they come, like those negative feelings, almost like imagining them like an old friend who comes to your door and knocks on it. And what would you do when the friend is there? You would open your arms, you would embrace, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. It's so good to see you. And doing that, they tend to just kind of dissipate. So
Exactly.
you learn these tools, I think, as you get more in touch with your body
Yeah,
and what frequency you're on and what your emotion is. You learn these tools to help you honor it, but then also move out of it as quickly as possible.
yeah,
So it's
exactly.
that
Yeah,
dance, right?
yeah. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I tend to, I'm not as poetic. I've actually said, when these negative emotions or darker emotions come up, almost imagine them as reality TV stars. Give them their 15 minutes of fame, and they'll fizzle out.
I love that. I love that. That's so
But when
good.
we
Yeah.
ignore them and we push them down, then they actually, lock up in our body. And,
Yes.
then we have these emotional outbursts. Later on we get triggered by something, or,
Yeah.
we have these blocks that we're like, why am I banging my head on this brick wall? It's because we didn't address this
Yeah.
over here.
Or physical disease, right? There's like all the different
Man,
ways it can manifest.
it's so many stories. There's different areas of your body that trap, they're associated with different emotions. I mean, there's
Mm,
organs that are associated with emotions, right? So that's where they tend to lock into.
yeah.
Or if you have a weakened area of your body, it's going to go
Mm.
straight there and make it worse. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's been part of my journey over this past year too, is healing skin cancer. And that's been, so I've been studying some of that and like, okay, cancer's caused from resentment, and where have I been holding on to resentments that I didn't know? And I don't know, maybe I'm not going to, well, maybe I will selfishly turn this into a session with you where you tell me what that's about, because I'm still actively healing it. But it's just been interesting because I didn't think I had any resentment. And then I was like, well, I guess I do. So if I did,
yeah,
what would it be about? And started to bring
yeah.
some stuff up that I didn't even realize was there. But that's
I've been through that too, where I was like, well, I forgave, I was, but I was still holding that resentment. I'm like, oh, I
yeah,
didn't think I was. Well, so
yeah.
started tap.
The tapping. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
doing it like every morning. Tap on
Yeah.
that resentment, get it out.
Wow. I'm getting
Yeah.
certified in that now, which I'm excited about because
Oh,
I
that's
haven't
so
actually done a lot of
amazing.
tapping, but I'm like, I'm interested in it. And I was like, oh, let's just get certified and I can help my clients with it too.
I
So
love it.
it's pretty powerful
Yes.
though, huh?
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. I love it.
Mm.
You know what I think what I really love about the idea of tapping is it's so simple, right? It's very simple to do. It's very passive.
Mm.
Like, because I think a lot of times when we're trying to heal something, we're trying to get to that next level, we get into this place of do.
Yeah.
We're acting, and we're not being,
Mm.
we're not sitting back into it, and then we like get tense and clench and
Yeah.
and then we block the flow. And
Yes.
so tapping is just like, I'm just sitting there tapping on my face. I love Brad Yates. Everybody makes fun of me. I'm a Brad Yates groupie. He's on YouTube. And I just follow, I mean, he's got a video for everything. And I just follow
Mm.
along just passively. I say the words, and sometimes certain ones, you'll feel like a little choke. You're like,
Wow.
oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah. And it's doing something. But then afterwards, like, fine, that's it, I'm done, I go on with my day. And then when, like, something will come up and you're like, oh, my behavior was a little bit different in
Mm.
response to that.
Yeah.
I'm just noticing, like,
Yeah.
I didn't have that reaction, or I didn't, and it's just this subtle thing. But the more you do it, the more effective it is. And it just really just passively changes your life, which is
Wow.
super cool, I think.
Yeah, it can be easy. Like I think that's the
Yeah.
thing is we make it hard. Like I made
Yeah.
stuff so hard for so
Yeah.
long, and you can let it all be easy.
That
And
was
the
more
easy.
programming. I mean, I know
Yes,
I was told
exactly.
that all the time, if
Yeah.
you want to do something you love, then make that a hobby. It's called
Ooh.
work, not play. And like all of
Ooh.
these messages
Yeah.
about, and I had to undo all that.
Yeah.
And it of course, time was, things were different. Society was different when we were getting those messages, and
Yeah.
they were being told to us to protect us. And that's what our parents or elders or whoever, thought that we needed to hear in order to do
Yeah.
well in this
Yeah.
society.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, that's been really powerful, is to notice limiting beliefs.
Hmm.
And a lot of mine have been around money. That
Hmm.
just seems to be part of my journey in this lifetime, is to learn
Yeah.
about money and abundance and all that. And
Yeah.
to talk with my mom and find out, like, because we grew up upper middle class, but I always had a fear that all the money was going to go away, and I never knew where that, and I had that later on in my adult life too. Even when I was
Hmm.
making money, I would be afraid it was going to go away. And then I had a conversation with her even just a couple months ago where I was like, I still don't fully understand where this came from.
Hmm.
And she was like, oh, well, I was always afraid all our money was going to go away, because growing up, her mom grew up during the Depression. And so her
Hmm.
mom, they had money, but she always said we're, poor as church mice and blah, blah. And they
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
spent anything. And so then my mom like clipped coupons and counted literally every penny that we spent as a
Mm.
family, like in a ledger. And so this stuff gets passed down. It's not
Yeah.
just like the physical expression that gets passed on in your genes, but it's also the emotions that your previous
Yes.
generations have carried.
Yes. It absolutely does. I mean,
It goes
I
deep.
actually went live one time. I talked about, this reoccurring dream I had all the time,
Mm,
as a kid, where it was a falling dream. I'm walking along this field, and
yeah.
then phew, I fall into a hole in the ground.
Mm,
And I was getting to be like 11, 12, and it was happening more and more often. And I finally mentioned it to my dad. I said, it's so annoying. I'm almost asleep, and I wake up
yeah.
with this dream. And and you know, I was telling him, I'm walking in this field and I just fall into a hole. And he's like, wait, did it look like this over here in the distance? And yeah. And did it look like this over here in the distance? Well, yeah. How the hell would you know that? You know?
Wow. Oh,
And
that
it
gives me
turned
chills.
out it was something that happened to him as a child.
Mm.
But, and of course it was very traumatic. And, you know, he had wandered off from a picnic where, so nobody was near him.
Oh,
Nobody
wow.
knew where he was. The only reason he was found was his dog was with him and went and got help.
Oh my gosh.
So it was terrifying. And so that stuff, that trauma passed to me.
Wow.
And then when we talked about it and he told me the story, it was like it cleared it because I never
Yes.
had the dream again.
Oh my gosh.
Is that
Wow.
amazing?
That's so amazing.
And that's, you know, I say, you know, I used to be so worried about, you know, scaring people with all the woo woo, you know. For me, the C word was chakra. You know, I was like, don't say it, you know. And now I'm just like, whatever, I don't care,
Yeah.
because I've seen it, I know it, and
Yes.
you know, believe what you will. If you want to
Yes.
believe me, come along.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this. I love getting to have this conversation because that's, you know, it's fun to do this. I speak on some like business podcasts and it's like, ooh, when you say frequency or something like, or I always feel like they're like, what vibration? What are you talking about? Like, that sounds sexual. Like, what's going on? So I feel like we can like just talk
Are you
about
talking
it
about
here.
the airwaves?
Yeah. So it's nice to just feel it because I feel like your people are like, this is the language, but I think,
Yeah.
and I had a limiting belief too, that like you couldn't be spiritual and make money. And
Yeah.
then I was like, well, let me just look at some of
Tons
the
of
people
people have
I
that belief.
follow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, well, you know, Oprah seems to be doing pretty well with Super Soul Sunday.
Okay.
And Dr. Joe Dispenza, my
Yeah.
other hall pass, he seems to be doing pretty well. And it's, you start
Yeah.
looking at people who just like own who they are. And I
Yeah.
also think we're in a really beautiful period where these types of like spiritual leaders are needed in a new way,
Yeah.
to take us into the next age we're being
The
called
age
to
of
go into.
Aquarius.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's a
we're
really important
transitioning
role.
there, and I think that's why it's, you know, there's more and more attention to it because more and more people are starting to feel it.
Yes.
You know, there's just, you know, as we shift and the planets are moving and everything's happening, you know, we're feeling stuff that we
Yeah.
haven't felt before, or we're feeling it more intensely than we've ever felt it. And that's where, yeah, more of this is needed, these conversations, and just
Yeah.
again that faith. And that's why I love doing this, to help inspire people, because you know, you and I talked right before, I compare this all the time to the process of giving birth. You know, right before you push that baby out, those contractions are like, ah. And when, you know, when you're giving birth, you can't say, forget it, I'm out.
Yeah.
But you can with your other stuff, like, oh, this is too much, I'm out. And but then we still get pushed back towards it. You know, you can't escape it, you still keep
Yeah.
getting pushed back towards it. So, you know, we want that final push. What
Yes.
is it that's going to push us through? And that's what I'm hoping these, everybody's stories, you know, all of these will help people do, is push through to their breakthrough, you know, and don't worry about what's on this other side. Just have faith, and, you know, knowing that of course it's going to be for whatever is best for you.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I've learned that it is like, fear is a green light that you need to do it.
Yes.
It's a green light.
Yeah.
You need to do
Yeah.
it.
That means
And
you're on the right track.
exactly. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. It's true, because this life experience is not about being comfortable. I think that's the wrong goal. I think
Yeah.
that's the wrong goal, because again, it goes back to, where does your comfort come from? It's that feeling of safety and security inside yourself, because you've done the work to become whole. You've done
Yeah.
the work to heal the past traumas, to clear the wound, or no, not clear the wounds, but to heal the wounds. And
Yeah.
then, you can create any sort of life experience you want.
Yeah.
And but it's like, it's not meant to be comfortable. Like, I get nervous when I am comfortable, because it's like, oh, it's time to it's time to shake it up, because if I don't, then the universe will lovingly invite me
Yeah, well,
to shake it
so
up.
to your point, it's so funny. Like I got to the end of the year this past year, right? And so, 2020 was a great year for me. So I did not complain. I got to the end. I'm looking at my vision board. I'm like, nailed it.
Yeah.
I'm like looking at my financial goals, nailed it, right? So I'm feeling really good. And I'm like, I think I'm going to coast for a little while.
Oh, girl.
I know. I got slapped around.
I'm with you. Right? Yeah.
I got slapped around. I was like, yeah, I'm enjoying this. I'm feeling ease. I feel good. I'm going to coast for a little bit and just kind of eat this up. And nope, I got knocked around a bit. Those waves, started smacking at me. They're like, no.
Yes.
It's time to coast.
That was my end of last year. We had, Jack was like 4 months old, and my business was in a good place, and we were just happy and comfortable. And I was like, I'm not going to hire a coach for the first time in a while. I'm going to chill. Like, I got this. I'm feeling good. I'm going to enjoy being a new mom. Get this massive intuitive download that I need to go hire this coach that costs half of what I earned the entire year before to work with her. And it was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I just decided I'm not even going to hire a coach now. But it was this massive, like, you have to do this. And so I trusted and piecemeal the money together. And then that's when everything changed so fast.
Yes.
For me, but it was massively uncomfortable.
And I think I want to point out too, I love that because you were working on reconnecting to your body and trusting yourself like that. And so now here you are getting these downloads and you're trusting them. Right. So, and it's just that process that we keep pushing through, if you just keep doing all of the things, take all those little steps. It doesn't have to be one giant leap. Just keep taking the steps and you get to that place of knowing this is right. Yes. I just know I got the download. I feel it. I hear it. I'm going forward instead of second guessing and shouldn't I, going to other people. You just know.
And you have to be so careful with the going, even when you say going to other people, being mindful of the resources that you're consuming. Because the only way it was going to work for me to hire this coach was to put it on a credit card. That was I didn't have all that cash sitting around to do it. And so, but meanwhile, I have a mentor who I love and trust dearly, but it's very anti-debt. And then I was also reading a book that was about getting out of debt. And so, but my download kept being like, hire this woman, hire this woman, hire this woman. So I did it. And then I continued to go into panic about having made the wrong choice for myself. And she was like, when are you going into panic? Like, what are you paying attention to right before you go into panic? And I was like, oh, I'm talking to this mentor. I'm reading this book. And she was like, you have to cut it off. Yeah. You make decisions for you.
Do it.
You make your own rules. You decide what your money rules are. You decide what your life rules are. And I am so glad I did, because if I had not, I have way less money than I have right now. I'd be way less happy than I am right now. So you have to trust that whatever the download is that you're getting is right for you. And it may not be right for everybody else, and that's okay. And usually your intuition will defy all logic. So it's
absolutely.
Look inside instead of outside.
Yep, knowing. And it's so funny because I was even, I had gotten one and I was trying to second guess it. And I was like, all right, if this is right, show me a red Ferrari somewhere. Because I'm not a car person. I don't care. So like, that doesn't come up in conversation for me. What was really funny was I kept seeing all these little red sports cars, not Ferrari. Gosh. And then once I made the decision to do it, I was like, I'm going to do it. Then I see all the red Ferraris.
Oh, that's so funny.
So funny. It was really funny.
So funny. Wow. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's like, I'm envious isn't the right word, but I'm always intrigued by people who can say, show me the sign if it's right. And then they see it immediately. Like, that hasn't so much been my journey. I think it sounds like we're both being invited to just make the decision yourself.
Yes,
and then
exactly.
Get the confirmation.
Yep. Personal responsibility, Kahlua.
Yeah, I know. Right? Oh, that's hilarious.
So as you have, pushed through, into your breakthrough, if you had that, the midwife or the partner that was maybe not outside of you, because again, back on that, but, just the message that would help you really just give that final push into your breakthrough, what was it that you would have wanted to know?
Yeah. one of the things that really helped me, aside from the trusting yourself,
Yeah.
is that you get to be attached to the what, but not the how. So the hows will mess us up every time. So whatever the thing is that you're going for in your breakthrough, you get to be fiercely attached to that, whatever that is, whether it's a certain type of lifestyle, a certain type of business, a certain type of health relationship. But because everything is frequency, you're going from a lower frequency to a higher frequency with your breakthrough.
Yeah.
The how lives where the higher frequency is. So you must, the only way it's going to be revealed is for you to start living into that frequency now, which you do through your thoughts, thinking the thoughts of it's already done. And if this was already my reality, how would I be thinking? And then feeling those peak emotions, that heightened emotion of gratitude, love, joy for that reality that hasn't been created yet. And as you feel that more, then the house starts to show up. That's how but that's also a very feminine energy way of creating.
Yeah.
And I work with, I used to be so caught up in like, oh, if I don't know how, I can't do it, that means it's a bad idea. I work with a lot of women who have that conditioning too, and men. This applies however you identify your gender, but it's,
well, we need a balance.
We need a balance. And I do think we need more feminine energy in the business sphere right now,
because it's all masculine.
Yeah. And I think we're getting there too, which is exciting. I think we're in an age where that's coming into fruition, but you don't need to care about the how. The how will be revealed as you start to match the frequency of that thing that you want.
And it's funny because I've heard people say that before, like, don't worry about the how, it'll come later. But I've not heard somebody say it to that. It's up here.
Yeah.
So just push through and you'll get it.
All you need to worry about, not even worry about, all you need to focus on is match the frequency of that thing.
I love
which you do through your thoughts and your emotions. And then you notice the downloads you get, notice the ideas you have, notice the things you feel called to act on, and you must do those. Like your part is to also act, but I trust my thoughts when I'm feeling good, because that tells me they're closer to that frequency of the thing I want. When I am not in a great place, I try to not pay a lot of attention to my thoughts because they're lower frequency. So they're normally not going to get me where I want to go. So it's just learning. It's learning how to work it. It's learning how to, again, it's all universal laws. Like, it's just learning how to work them to your advantage.
Nice. I love that. I mean, like, freaking love that. I love it. That is great. And then one more little thing I want to ask you. So what is it that you do? I mean, whether it be like to get grounded or recharged or like raise your vibration, what is this? What is something that you might do to kind of get to that place of feeling high vibing?
Yes. I've learned to be very conscious. Like, I feel it in my heart chakra. Like, that's where, like, right now. You do too?
Funny. I get it's almost like a glow.
Yes.
Like, it's okay.
Yeah. So
I've not had somebody else say that to me yet. Yay.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Like, I feel it right now with you. Right. And that's like, for me, how I know I'm kind of vibing where I want to be for what I was. So if I notice that that's not happening, like if I notice that diminishes, then I know now, oh, I just thought a thought, because our emotions are always determined by our thoughts. So I know now to just get curious about, what did I just think that dropped my vibration down, that actually lessened like the glow of the heart center. Right. And then just whatever rituals, I think people can pick the rituals that work for them. But for me, like, I'll go outside, I'll go for a walk, I'll get out of the environment, because you got to break the state. Yeah. Right. So, and another thing, that I think I mentioned my girlfriend, Allison Chavez, earlier in this interview, like, one of the things she says all the time that really helps me is like, when it feels heavy, put it down. And when it feels light, pick it up. So if something's, isn't that good?
That is good.
Yeah.
That is good. That's so simple. We don't give ourselves permission to do that. We like strap it to our back and hunch over and carry it around. Why are we doing that?
Because we don't understand how to create using quantum physics, energy, the stuff we're talking about here. We think we do all matter on matter, and that is hard work. That is, you have to push and force. Yep. When you know this stuff that we're talking about, none of that applies to you. You play by different rules. Yeah. And it's really exciting.
Yeah. Game changer.
Yes, exactly. It's so much more fun.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was one thing, but those are a couple of things I tried.
That was fantastic. And I think that was a wonderful place to head out and you just leave everybody with those wonderful nuggets. Like there's just such good stuff. Thank you so much, Elyse, for coming and sharing your wisdom. I'm so happy.
Thank you. This was one of my favorite interviews. I'm so grateful. And
Hey, I'm
this
so
was,
glad.
yeah, I think this was a really important conversation and helpful for me too, just to continue to
Oh,
clarify my own thinking. So thank you for that.
yeah, I'm so happy. This is
Mm.
wonderful. And I'm so excited. And, the whole thing is, actually a friend of mine, Donna, told her story. And at the very end, and it just came to her, but she said, when I said, what is it that you want people to know? She said, you know what, that there's a spark in you. And
Mm.
so isn't that great? Oh, and it
I
just
love
came
that.
to her. And so that's what I want everybody to remember, that there's a spark in you. So as you're listening to all this, really take it in, because remember, there's that spark in you and it's time to ignite it.
Mm.
Thank you so much for being part of Breakthrough or Bust.
Thank you
Have
for
an
having me.
amazing day.
Mm. Thank you so much.